Hello everybody, fellow teachers and fellow educators. Welcome to the second video of our series on preparing for the TKT CLIL test. This is actually a series in which we're getting our hands dirty. We're taking a look at the questions, we're solving questions from previous tests, which contain questions that are similar to the ones that we may find in the current version of the exam. So if you want to have some hands-on practice with the TKT CLIL test, this is the series for you. So let's get started. So as we mentioned, this is the second video of a series. So we're going to deal with task 2. When we talk about tasks here, we're talking about the organization of the test itself. So we know that the TKT CLIL test has different sections. Each of the sections has different tasks. A task in this case is an umbrella term because a task contains a certain number of questions from the test. So task 1 contained questions 1 through 7. So task 2 contains questions 8 through 13. And so it contains 6 out of the 25 questions in the first section of the test. But let's read what this task is about. For questions 8 to 13, look at the tasks and the 3 possible areas of language listed A, B, and C. So first of all, notice that the word task here is not the same as task as we saw above. This task refers to the tasks listed in the questions, the ones that I'm underlining out. I'm sorry that it's not so straight. Some of them are not so straight, right? Those are the tasks that students will do. And then we have language areas that are listed here, right? So we have to look at the tasks and the areas. Now let's continue with the instructions. 2 of the areas of language are central to the task. And one of the areas of language is not. Mark the one which is not central. So which one of those 3 areas are not related? So that's what we're looking for. Again, when we talk about the areas, we're talking about those 3 here, right? Which one of these areas, which one of those 3 areas do not relate to this task? So let's see how this plays out in practice, in the real test. So, but before that, let's delve a little deeper into understanding where we're at. So, as I just told you in the introduction, the first part of the CLIL test is titled Knowledge of CLIL and Principles of CLIL. And there's 4 tasks that we can see here on this table, consisting of 25 questions. We saw when we were looking at task 1 that the first task focused on aims of and rationale for CLIL knowledge. This one here focuses on language across the curriculum because the task itself refers to language areas. But if we look a little bit deeper into the question, we're going to see that it also contains elements of communication skills across the curriculum. So how do we know that? Well, if you look at this simple question, it contains a task, number 12, for taking part in a class discussion, speculating about the climate in the future. There's 3 language areas: modal verbs expressing possibility and probability, which is grammar; vocabulary for expressing feeling, vocabulary; language for expressing opinions, which is a language function. Well, in most CLIL books, grammar and vocabulary fall under language skills across the curriculum, one of the titles we can see above. And language functions fall under communication skills across the curriculum. So we have the grammar and the uses of grammar plus the vocabulary falling under language skills, and the language functions falling under communication skills. So I hope this has been enough to give you a better idea of what this question is focusing on and what we need to study or maybe go over to be able to answer this question or these questions effectively. Let's jump right into it. Let's look at question number 8. For each one of those slides with a question in it, I've put a little box reminding us of the task, which is to identify the area of language not central to the task. So what's my strategy? Well, it's to determine which language area is not related or not needed. In order to do that, I need to read the task, read the areas, and we're going to dissect each one of the areas to make sure that we can get to the one that is not central. So number 8. For writing about an experiment on gravity the learners did in the lab. So notice here that learners are writing about an experiment that already happened, and it's a science experiment. So that's an important element to keep in mind as we analyze. So which one of those areas are not needed? The past tense, comparative forms, or question tags? Or, using the language from the test, which one of the areas is not central? So let's look at each one of them. So the past tense is needed. Why? First of all, because this is a writing exercise, and the students are writing about an experiment, so they're probably writing a report. When you write a report after the experiment, that means that the writing occurs after the fact, so the past is needed. Students will need sentences such as, we dropped a pen and it fell on the floor, to explain what happened during the gravity experiment. Comparative forms. Well, comparative forms are also needed because during the experiment itself, students may drop different types of objects to see which ones fall more quickly or less quickly. So for example, students may drop elements of different weights, as in the pen was heavier than the feather, therefore it fell more quickly. This is an example of what students may write in the report. What about question tags? Well, question tags are not needed. Why not? Well, first of all, let's remind ourselves of what question tags are. If I'm making a statement, for example, we need to run, don't we? This little element at the end, don't we, is a question that I put. It's like a tag at the end of the statement, and it's used for confirmation, for a verification. So that's the function of a question tag. Question tags are really important when you're writing dialogues or interactions among people in which they're asking each other things and confirming things. If you look at the style of this writing task, they're writing a report, they meaning the students. In this case, students will not need to use question tags because they're not stylistically appropriate for this task. Students would never write something, as you can see in the example here. The feather fell more slowly, didn't it? That's not really appropriate for this type of document. And this is why for question number 8, the answer is letter C. I hope this has made it clear for you, and this has showed you how we can go about answering these questions. So let's move on. Let's go to question number 9. So question 9 reads, for writing a quiz on facts about whales. Again, it's a writing exercise. What are students writing? A quiz. So we know what quizzes contain. This is important for determining which area is not central. And what is in the quiz? Facts about whales. This is important. So a quiz being written and including facts about whales. Exclamations, probably not appropriate. Well, exclamations would be very useful in dialogues, in conversations, and if I'm writing imperatives where I'm giving commands or requests, orders. In this case, if students are doing a quiz, they're writing a quiz, they're not going to be writing using exclamation marks because there is a quiz and the quiz uses facts, not dialogues. So it's a statement of facts about whales. So exclamations, not central. Let's look at the other ones. Question forms are central because quizzes do contain questions. For example, there could be a question such as, how many species of whales are there? And some other types of questions that the quiz may include. So questions are central. And the present tense is also important because if the quiz is about facts on whales, facts are expressed by the simple present in English. It's one of the tenses that expresses facts. For example, whales are mammals. Whales swim long distances. Those are all statements using the simple present which contain facts. So for number 9, the answer is A. Moving on now to question number 10. Question 10, for designing a poster describing the digestive process, what is not needed, what is not central? Let's think about reported speech. Probably not, because even though you can report texts or statements, reported speech is a lot used when you're reporting dialogues. So in this case, there's no dialogues or statements that are going to be reported as part of the activity. The students are just describing the digestive process. They're not reporting anything about the digestive process. So it's not central. Conjunctions of time are central because the digestive process is a sequential process. It has steps. First, you put the food in your mouth, and then you chew on the food, and then you swallow the food. The food goes through your esophagus to your stomach. So each one of these sections is a part of a sequence. So for example, students may need conjunctions of time to express this in the poster by writing, for example, after the food is chewed, it is swallowed. After being digested, the food moves on to the intestines. Or before the food reaches the intestines, it is digested. Impersonal pronouns. What are impersonal pronouns? Impersonal pronouns are pronouns such as one, they, it, you. When you're referring to things or processes or abstract ideas, and not necessarily people. So it, for example, may be used in the poster. And even you, impersonally, for example, when you eat a pizza, first of all, you chew on the pizza, and then the pizza gets sent to your stomach. You here is not referring to you, just the reader, but you, impersonal, any person. So it's not exclusive to the one person who's reading, but to everybody who's reading. You may also use it to refer to elements of digestion, such as, in the example, saliva contains enzymes. It is made in the mouth. So the answer here that is not needed, the language area that is not needed is A. Now number 11, for working in groups to label parts of the body. Well, let's see here. Students are going to work in groups and they're going to be labeling drawings or parts of the body. Do they need adverbs of frequency? Probably not. Adverbs of frequency are used to refer to things you do with a certain frequency. For example, seldom, usually, often, once a week, twice a day, once in a while. In this case, they're just labeling parts. They're not writing full sentences. So they're probably not going to need adverbs of frequency. Do they need language for checking answers? Yes, they will. Because once they label the parts of the body in groups, they're going to have to check each other's work before concluding it or turning it in to the teacher. So they may need to make statements such as, we may have made a mistake here. Let's fix this. Or we may need to reconsider this part that we labeled because it may not be okay. So these are situations in which students will have to use this type of language. And singular and plural nouns are needed because some parts of the body will come in the singular form, other parts of the body will come in the plural form. And some of these plurals are even irregular plurals, such as foot, feet, tooth, teeth. Others, they follow a pattern, such as arm, arms, eyes, eyes, ears, as you can see in the example. So students will need to use this area of language in order to accomplish the task. So the one that is not central is A. Number 12, for taking part in a class discussion, speculating about the climate in the future. So what is not central? What will students not be using here? Modal verbs for possibility and probability are needed because students are speculating on the future of climate. So they may need to use modals, like I just used in this sentence, such as could or may or might. In statements, for example, some species could be extinct if we don't manage or get a grip on the climate. Disasters may occur if we don't worry about the climate and take action, and so on. What about vocabulary for feeling? Well, students are speculating, and speculations are based on facts and opinions, not on feelings. So this is not really central. So vocabulary for expressing feeling is almost unrelated. Students may later talk about how they feel about global warming or the climate. But that's not the goal of the task. That's not central to the task itself. What about language for opinions? Yes, because speculating means generating opinions based on facts. Such as in the example, I believe we should eliminate the use of fossil fuels. Language such as I believe, I think, I reckon, in my opinion, in my view, those are all expressions or language that they can use to express opinions. So the answer is B. Last but not least, we're going to move on to number 13. What do students not need, what is not central for reconstructing a text on how glass is made? Well, again, you're going to reconstruct a text, which involves getting pieces of that text and putting the pieces together. And the text describes a process, how glass is made. So will they need passive forms? They most likely will, because it is useful to describe processes. For example, you're gonna talk about how glass is made. This is already a passive. So students may need to make statements such as calcium oxide is added to the sand in the process of making glass. Or several chemicals are included in glass making. So passive forms are central to this task. What about sequencing words? Remember that reconstructing a text means putting the pieces back together in a sequence. So they will need sequential words. First, the materials are mixed, then they're heated, etc., etc. Students will need sequencing words, but they probably will not need superlative forms because there's no reason for superlative here, right? They're just reconstructing a text, they're not producing. You're not comparing the different parts of the text in terms of quality or in relation to a quality, an adjective. So they won't need it. And that's the answer for number 13, letter C. So I hope this has been helpful in giving you some guidelines that you can use to answer a similar question to this one. And if you need more guidelines, I really recommend those two books. The first one you need to purchase, which is a great TKT CLIL preparation book put together by Kay Bentley. The second one is a document that you can download for free on the Cambridge Assessment English website. This document goes into detail on what the TKT CLIL test is, what the questions will be about, what you really need to cover, and how you need to prepare yourself. And last but not least, I'm including a couple of links to different videos that you can use to learn more about the topics covered in these questions. If you like this video, please subscribe, make a comment, help us out, and see you in the next video.